Welcome to Metroid Samus Returns, everyone, a remake of the original Metroid II, a game which is very near and dear to my heart because of its significance to my channel, and a game I've been meaning to play for a very long time. I finally have the means to do so. This is the start of the year of Metroid for my channel. My god, there is going to be so much Metroid for me this year, and I would have it no other way. Let's go ahead and jump right in. In the year 20X5 of the Cosmic Calendar, a Galactic Federation research team discovered an unknown life form on planet SR3-88. While they were able to successfully obtain a living sample, the research vessel was attacked by space pirates during their voyage home. This attack was no coincidence. The space pirates had set their sights on these mysterious organisms called Metroids. They planned to replicate the sample and exploit its ability to absorb the energy of any life form. Their intention was to use Metroids as a weapon, one powerful enough to conquer the entire galaxy. To combat this threat, the Galactic Federation dispatched a lone bounty hunter to infiltrate the space pirate base on the planet Zebes. Against all odds, Samus Aran eradicated the Metroids on Zebes and defeated Mother Brain, the leader of the space pirates, and so their sinister plans were thwarted for a time. Concerned by these developments, and by the great threat the Metroid species still posed to the galaxy, the Galactic Federation mounted another expedition to SR3-88. A special squadron of elite soldiers from the Galactic Federation Police was dispatched to investigate. The team soon went missing, but not before transmitting a small sampling of data back to headquarters. Analysis of this data confirmed a Metroid presence within the interior of planet SR3-88. So long as they continued to exist, these Metroids would forever pose a devastating threat to the galaxy. The resulting decision of the Galactic Federation Council was immediate and unanimous. Samus Aran, you must exterminate the Metroids once and for all. And it is good to be back on SR3-88. It has been how long since I played the original Metroid 2? I mean, we are getting close to a decade, but playing this is going to be a real treat right here. I've been meaning to do this for a while. And what do I think of the game right up top? I think it's pretty freaking good. There are a few hang-ups here and there that prevent the game from, truly being great, I think, kind of surpassing other Metroid games that I love so much. But at the end of the day, developer Mercury Steam, I think, did a pretty freaking fantastic job. This was their first crack at the Metroid series, and I think they really seized the day and did a really good job with the opportunity they had. And they also did a pretty good job of introducing a lot of brand new elements that have kind of really defined the Metroid series going forward, or at least with Metroid Dread, a game they just recently released. And there's one of the Marines right there. Guess you can count on a Federation Marine to never get very far. One of the first major additions the Mercury Steam added to the series was the melee counters we're about to see right here. The enemy flashes, they glow, and then you can go up and do increased damage while they just kind of stand there all stunned. It's a continuation of an element that was in Other M, where Samus really makes use of her entire body as a weapon, as opposed to just shooting things with the beam cannon. I'm really glad they brought that back, because one of the best things about Other M was that fact that we got to get really flashy and physical with combat. and this would be kind of a defining feature for Samus going forward as well. There are a few little hiccups with it here in Samus Returns though. You have to be standing still whenever you use it, kind of brings the action and the momentum and the flow of combat kind of to a stop, so kind of a pace breaker in that way. And also the game is a little too decentralized on it, or centralized on it rather, if you ask me. Especially as we see later on within the game, there are a lot of scenarios where you kind of have to use the counter, or the counter is just so good that you'd be stupid to not use it, so it's not always great in that manner, but as far as new additions, I think it's pretty freaking great. And what do we have here? Chozo Ruins! Yep, I mean, after all, SR-388 was a Chozo colony, so it makes sense that they would have the same ruins here as we had back on Zeppa's. As we're gonna get the Morph Ball, because the Morph Ball always has to be first, right? This game does a fantastic job of expounding upon the lore of the Metroid series, because, well, the original Metroid II was a Game Boy game. There was not a whole lot you could do with that. And, so I guess like I alluded to, this game does indeed replace the original Metroid II as the canonical entry for this part of the Metroid story, very similar to what Zero Mission did with the original Metroid on the NES, so kind of weird that this is now the precise sequel to Zero Mission, and both this game and Zero Mission stole the canonicity, whatever you want to call it, from previous games. It's just kind of weird how that turns out, I suppose. Right there is a save point. Don't really need it at the moment. I mean, the original Metroid 2 had save points. It was revolutionary, but yeah, of course Samus Returns was going to have them too. And looks like another fancy piece of Chozo tech. So in the original Metroid 2, well, the goal was to exterminate all Metroid just like it is right here. We still have a Metroid counter of 40, if you can see in that little screen on the bottom right-hand corner. But in this game, you can always see how many Metroids are in a given area because of these Chozo structures right here. There's just one Metroid right here. In the original, you just kind of had to go around and hope that you would find them all eventually so the lava in the area would recede. On this one, it isn't really lava either. It's just this purple liquid. I guess it may as well be lava. It'll damage you pretty hard if you step in there, but we still have to find all the Metroids in an area before that will recede, so that's going to be the name of the game. More Federation Marines! You guys are just not very hardy. Or at least compared to our gal Samus, at the very least. Alright, here we have another addition to the Metroid formula via Mercury Steam. It is the Aeon abilities. So this is pretty much just a set of abilities that Samus can use in addition to her normal armament. It kind of functions similar to the magic meter from the Zelda series, where we have that little meter down there. We can replenish it by defeating enemies, and we have a variety of abilities we can use by expending that meter. So the first one that we get is the Scan Pulse. And what does the Scan Pulse do, you might ask? Well, if we use it, it reveals spots on the map that we can actually destroy. Ooh. I'm going to go ahead and shut up for a little bit. Let's go ahead and listen to the soundtrack. Of course, that is the new rendition of The Tunnel, a track that I gushed about throughout the entirety of the original Metroid 2. It was kind of, you know, the only track in the original Metroid 2, or the only one that I would really classify as good, but it is back here in full force, and it is fantastic. I love it. Kind of makes me wish it wasn't just on the 3DS, that it was a little bit more high quality, but what are you gonna do? And there they are, the Metroids. And all their energy-sucking glory. How I hate them. Well, that's gonna be target numero uno, and we know there's only one of them in the map, or in this portion of the map either, so we're gonna have to go get it right quick. Our old nemesis, the Metroids. Operation Extermination, version 2.0. Right there is an energy recharge station. The red one that we saw earlier was a missile recharge station. Not as flashy as the old ones, if you ask me, but they look a little bit more like they're composed of Chozo tech, so since this is a Chozo colony planet, I suppose it makes some modicum of sense. I'm not really going to complain about the energy and missile recharge stations or anything like that. And so I guess the last major addition that we have here to Samus Returns is 360 aiming. I don't really remember what it was on the original 3DS, as I am emulating this on my souped-up new laptop after all, but By holding the button, we have 360 aiming, and boy, that is a great addition. Excuse you. That is a fantastic addition to the 2D Metroid formula, if you ask me, being able to shoot in all directions. Again, kind of have to stand still in order to make it work, so it is a little handicapped in that way. The flow in this game is a little bit off, which is kind of what I don't really like about it all that much, although I do still love this game at the end of the day. But 360 aiming, fantastic idea, really love it here. Would really be expounded upon in Dread along with the melee counter. Speaking of Dread, man, I should probably address why I'm playing this game instead of Dread, but we'll get to that in a minute. And there it is, the Alpha Metroid. Haven't seen this guy before. But on SR388, a Metroid goes through more than just its larval stage, which is the stage that we've known and loved and seen in Zero Mission up to this point. Yep, they evolve, they change, they metamorphosize. And the first stage after the larva, the Alpha Metroid. Pretty easy to take down though, just like the original, we just pump them full of missiles. Keeping in line with the weakness that I guess the larval Metroids had. I had to freeze them first, but you could always use the missiles after that too, I suppose. Let's go ahead and get those missiles back. So yeah, Metroid Dread, that was going to be the next Metroid game that I was going to play for the channel, but the more I played Dread, the more I realized, wow, this really kind of reiterates and kind of expounds upon things that Samus Returns did, which is, you know, logical because Mercury Steam made both games, as we'll get our energy tank right there, 100 more health. Now, so I thought, you know, it'll be way more appropriate, I think, if I play Samus Returns first. You know, we'll go through all the new things that Samus Returns brought to the table and how it improved upon the original Metroid 2, and then we'll play Dread, which is kind of the final evolution of a lot of ideas that were introduced here in Samus Returns. But there's the charge beam. We can use it to open these brand new charge beam doors. If I recall correctly, I don't think there have ever been doors in Metroid that can only be opened with the charge beam. I think they've always just kind of traditionally been the missile doors, so yeah, pretty cool. Brand new way to have locked doors, I guess. Not that I liked locked doors all the time, but I mean just a few more power-ups that we could have in Metroid. There are going to be way more upgrades in this game than in the original Metroid 2. Well, maybe not way more, maybe that's not exactly the way to put it, but there will be additional ones, for sure. Just the charge beam. Well, the charge beam was in the original, maybe this isn't a good example. But you'll see what I mean whenever we get there. We're gonna get there soon. Trust me. One more door here before we get back to the tunnel. Don't really know if I could call it the tunnel. Like, the tunnel music doesn't exclusively play in these areas where the lava recedes anymore, but, for old time's sake, I'll call it the tunnel. So we get the DNA of the lone Alpha Metroid that we killed. Return it right here. And that's going to be what causes the lava to recede, as I'm going to use Scan Pulse one more time. I don't think I really kind of described what Scan Pulse did all that well. It does use Aeon, but it reveals all the places that you can destroy, like destroyable blocks. So it kind of replaces, I suppose, what traditionally power bombs did, or just regular bombing like crazy. That power got a lot of criticism among the Metroid faithful because, I don't know, I guess some people feel like it spoils a little too much. For me personally, I've been playing Metroid for so long, and I'm a big fan of doing 100%, that I didn't really mind all that much. I kind of really like using it. It makes it a little bit easier to get 100%. Because especially coming off a game like Super Metroid, where some of those expansions were like, are you kidding me? How was I supposed to know that? I think the Scan Pulse is pretty great to have, actually. And there is a warp point for, I guess we'll just call this Stage 1, like in the original game. So that's a brand new addition here, very much welcome. So as we go to other stages that are deeper and deeper within SR388, we find those teleport pads, we can always come back here if we want to, for all that lovely, lovely backtracking. And it looks like I'm going to need Morph Ball bombs for that one. Come back later, I suppose. But yeah, I really like how in this game, what causes the lava to recede and what allows us to go deeper and deeper into SR388, or hold on that for 1 second. You see those little diamonds right there? We're not able to open those up with any power-up that Samus is actually able to get. And I'm not really going to care about spoilers here, whatever. It's a remake of like a 30-year-old game at this point. We can only get past those whenever we get the baby Metroid after beating the Queen Metroid, which is unfortunate. It's one of the things I don't really like about the game. That you functionally have to beat the final boss before you can backtrack and get all the power-ups and expansions throughout the entirety of the game. Really adds to 100% completion time, which is really, really annoying. Not a huge fan of that. But like I was saying, I really like how in this game, so in the original Metroid 2, whenever you killed all the Metroids, you would hear this, like, roar or something, right? And then the lava would recede. And then you could go further into the planet once that happened. I think the only thing I could really conclude from that is that the Queen Metroid, who resides at the deep, dark depths of the planet, got really upset whenever her offspring died, or whenever the Metroid she was taking care of died, and she roared, and somehow that caused the lava to recede. Didn't make a whole lot of sense. And this one, it makes way more sense that these are kind of like seals that have been placed on the Metroids and on the planet by the Chozo to prevent the Metroids from escaping, or from the wrong person actually getting deeper and deeper into the planet in order to destroy the Metroids. So the new canon is that the Metroids, or the Chozo, put these safeguards into place to make sure that only the right people could really access these parts of the planet and things like that. It looks like we have 4 Metroids that we're going to have to take out here in Area 2, I suppose? Yeah, I guess I'll call it Area 2. So 4, I hope they're all alphas. Because, spoiler alert again, the alphas don't really constitute the ending of the Metroid line, shall we say. So this right here is another new addition. You can see right here we have this red aura emanating from these doors right here. So in OG Metroid games, pretty much every other 2D game up to this point, that is a new addition. If you went into a room and it was hot, and you were not able to take it with your base suit because you needed the various suit, well, sucks to suck. You were going to take the damage and you just get out of there as fast as you can. Mercury's team was really smart, and they're like, hey, how about we make it to where it's well telegraphed whenever a room is hot if we put that type of aura just coming out of it, which is great. So now I know that I can't go in there because I don't have the various suit, and I don't have to take any pot shot damage or anything like that. And I think we want to go this way first. So just another example of just really good things that Mercury's team is bringing to the table right here. Some fresh blood into the 2D series. I really, really appreciate it. And speaking of new things that they brought in, you know, I have taken quite a few hits so far because Samus Returns is not exactly what you could call a walk in the park. Okay, can you stop this, please? I'm still trying to get this counter down, but I guess another new feature, if you want to call it that, is that Mercury's team decided to be really, really cool if they made Samus Returns, like, way harder than any other Metroid game that came before it, for some reason. Which did, in my opinion, unfortunately spill over to Dread. At the end of the day, it's not a big problem for me, because, you know, I'm able to beat these games and 100% them no problem. But this game is a whole lot harder than other Metroid games, shall we say. We'll see it later. And right there, we have a Metroid skin. Not gonna call it a carcass this time. I mistakenly called all those things carcasses when I originally played Metroid 2. It's not a carcass. A carcass implies a dead creature of some sort. And the Metroids are not dead. They just shed their old skin, their old form, in order to evolve and metamorphosize into something way more powerful. So Metroid skin. I guess that's what I'll call it from here on out. And there it is. Oh, let's get out of here. Let's wait until it dives bomb, then pump it full of missiles again. Ooh, it looks like this one has electric abilities for some reason. Come here. I mean, I could always just use missiles right here, no problem, but I want to be flashy about it. Oh wait, I can't actually counter that one, yeah. The electric signals were a good sign of that. But there we go. And in this game, you can always tell when a Metroid is getting close to its last legs, because it starts, glowing red. So there we go. And as you can probably tell, that Metroid was far more hardier than the other alpha that we took on earlier, so just because you encounter an alpha later on down the line does not mean it's going to be a freaking pushover. I took a lot of damage from that. That is not very good, yikes. It's because I messed around in this room so much. You can see, I can wake him up right there. Yeah, I definitely need to be more proactive with how I'm doing everything here. And the counter, if you use the counter, it takes a while before Samus is able to use it again. So you gotta really watch out for that. Oh, and the Metroid meter is still going off pretty strong right there. It's not as needed in this one, you know, the little bleeping, because, well, we have a map this time. Revolutionary, I know. But it's still pretty nice to have it kind of loyal to the original. Ooh, looks like we have something right here. And we still need the bombs. Something tells me I probably should have gotten the bombs before I came this way, but that's fine. We are on a clock right here. We are on a timer. I want to go ahead and get the quote-unquote best ending, but I'm pretty sure I kind of vaguely know what I'm doing right here, so I'm not too worried about it. Just have to make sure I don't get bogged down too much. I think this one was a, oh, jeez, man. You can see right here, everything is very hardy if you don't use the counter, which, you know, another point of criticism for sure. That's very, very fair. So, if that annoys you, then, yeah, I mean, I get it. I think it's worse than Dread. Okay, stop. I think it's worse than Dread just because of the reach that game had, but, you know, we'll get to that later. I'll talk about Dread when I actually get to Dread later this year, because, you know, it's definitely happening this year. Yeah, I'm just going to ignore you right here. Don't think we need to do anymore. Alright, so the only way to go forward now is going to be up, I believe, as that is the way I came from. And that one's a hot room right there, so we're not going to worry about that one. For sure. One more. Ah, there we go. And now we start the climb. Still pretty linear right here. I mean, in its entirety, Metroid 2, it was always far more linear than other games. It kind of comes down to just the general areas that are kind of more wide open than others. But thankfully, Samus Returns does improve upon the original Metroid 2 by making the areas a bit more sensical, I suppose. Because in the original Metroid 2, it did make a ton of sense. Because sometimes like Area 2 and Area 3 would be way bigger than like Area 4 and Area 5 and things like that. The cohesiveness of the world has been very much improved upon in Samus Returns, which is, it's only good, right, to expound upon the world and the story and things like that. And it's just flat up an upgrade, I have to say that. There's a lot of good here, for sure.